Do, 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 do. You tit.
Welcome to Not Midweek Gaming. Welcome to a gaming conversation with friends. Episode number 6. I thought I'd just have a bit of fun there with the intro.
We just lost half our audience because of that.
Yeah, I just pressed the loop. Yeah, we're back again.
The Renegade Master.
Renegade Master, yeah. We are. Gaming conversation with friends, episode 6, where we just have a
chitty
chat about gaming. Whatever comes up, interesting topics. We try and veer away from
some
if
topics
possible.
We are going to avoid.
We're going to avoid some topics because I know some people are fed up with it. We've got some good
Yes.
stuff to talk about, though. We have some fun stuff. Welcome, Pixel Slapper, Darren in chat. I can see you, and the other people lurking. Welcome. How are you doing, VJ?
Yeah, I'm all good, Mr. Stubbs. Thanks for having me on the show. Have my cup of tea and ready to have a little chat.
Good to hear. Good to hear. And welcome to RemovableSanity. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Good to have me on again, and I have no cup of tea, but also willing to have a chat.
Fair enough. So, I'm going to start off today. Obviously, there's only one person that can talk about this. How is the new Zelda game, VJ?
Uh-oh.
That's not really a great sort of pathway or leadway into the subject, but I'm a bit worried about spoiling it for people. I was telling Luke I made the mistake of just catching some, like I normally do, just some hints and tips in terms of how to approach the game, like I did with Breath of the Wild. So I thought it'd be a bit more of a reminder. And lo and behold, even though the video said no spoilers, they
had spoilers.
Yeah, it had spoilers that they assumed or presumed weren't spoilers. So there weren't major plot spoiler or anything. Well, I made the mistake. I won't be doing it again, and so I won't be watching any YouTube, Twitter, because for me, if I'm going to talk about Zelda, I played Breath of the Wild when it came out at launch, and
yeah, I was going to say, what I would start for those who may have never played Breath of the Wild. What is Zelda? Da, 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 da.
If you're unaware what Zelda is, I think you'd have to go all the way back to the NES. I don't know if we've got.
There are some people who aren't born. They weren't around at that period. They're youngsters.
Yeah,
it's true.
But I think that that the Nintendo Switch does have a remake of one of the top-down 2D titles from the past. So I would definitely check that out. I've forgotten what it was called. Maybe someone can check it up while I'm speaking about Breath of the Wild. But for me, just to sum it up, I just think it's sort of romantically fitting that Zelda Breath of the Wild, which was the prequel to Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, sort of for me anyway, bookends the era of the Nintendo Switch. I think Zelda Breath of the Wild was how can I say it? Like perhaps the opening chapter for the Nintendo's of Book of Switch, if you want to call it that. And I'm sure there will be a Book of Switch at some point in the future, like there is for PlayStation. and for other Nintendo consoles. And for all intents and purposes, Tears of the Kingdom is the final chapter, the other bookend. And I know people may say, "Oh, well, but Pikmin 4 is coming out and so on and so forth." But I see Pikmin 4 and whatever else Nintendo have got coming up over the next sort of 6 to 12 months, amongst other sort of games that they've got, is being sort of storied events like post the main ending or epilogue, if you prefer.
Yep.
So that's what I would say in terms of
well,
the Kingdom.
Just to come back to it, there's a young chappie. I'm hoping it's chappie or chappess. Apologies, don't know. It's Thimba. He says, explain it to the folks who've never touched a Nintendo, aka
Welcome.
me. Yes, welcome.
Welcome, Mr. Who's just dropped into chat as well. Welcome.
So, yes, Thimba would like to know what it is about. A rough thesis, maybe. Small thesis. Because I know it can go into quite a heavy historical territory, couldn't it? How would you describe a Zelda to a person who's never played Zelda before?
How can I describe Zelda? It's difficult.
Not Robin Williams' daughter.
Hey,
I said not Robin Williams' daughter.
I'm gonna have a little thing because the thing is, I can say stuff about Zelda, but it may not actually sort of directly pertain to the game. Like, for example, what it means to me and so on and so forth, right? I mean, if you want to know what it means to in terms of a video, if you enjoy video games, if you haven't never played a Nintendo game, then you're definitely missing out, depending on the types of products that you like to play. Yeah.
Well, what would you classify? Is it a third-person shoot 'em up? Is it a 2D side scroller? Oh, that's what I was trying to explain it. That's what I was trying to think. Some people who'd probably never seen it before.
Yeah, I never played it on the NES and I never played it on the Game Boy, but it was a top-down 2D dungeon crawler, with towns and villages and lots of characters that sort of continued to make appearances, which is primarily Princess Zelda, Link, and Ganondorf, and some of the various tribes that populate the land of Hyrule. And the surrounding terrain and so on and so forth. So then it migrated from top down to becoming a 3D open world game. I think.
Would you classify it similar to the Mario open 3D world sort of esque?
No. Where Mario is more about sort of jumping and how can I put it? Triple jumping and sort of maneuvering.
Much more of a 3D platforming.
Yeah, but more fluently, and whereby Zelda is a much more, I don't know. I would say it's the bubbly champagne version of Elden Ring, almost specifically in terms of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom.
I think that's a very good. That's a very good description of it. It's a bubbly champagne version of Elden Ring.
Yeah. But someone said to me, I don't know who it was. Someone said to me, but games like Elden Ring and Final Fantasy 16, the difference is that their stories perhaps have more, I think the word was used, gravitas to them. But after playing, I had to think about it because I didn't I understood what it meant, like bubbly champagne versus, a hard whiskey. But I thought from a story perspective, that doesn't, I couldn't find myself agreeing with it, and then I sort of was thinking about it because I was often do then forget about it, and then it just came to look. Gravitas means different things to different people, and there are hues to gravitas, and I think that you will find gravitas in Zelda as much as you do in Elden Ring, but it just depends on your own your own personality and your own outlook in that sense, and I think. For me, is that when I look at Zelda, Link is hope, born out from the love of Zelda and how she looks at him as his protector. Then you've got Princess Zelda, who epitomizes love for Link, born out of hope. And then you've got Ganondorf, who depicts fear, right, in convergence with hate, right. So that's always the sort of trifecta, right? That sort of leads the stories within each Zelda mainline entry, so to speak.
I think that's a good one. I think also Luke Steele's in the chat. He provided also another definition. It's a large fantasy adventure game verging on immersive sin. At least this one.
Yeah, for this one, yeah. But if you're asking like for Zelda as a franchise as a whole, yeah,
There's various iterations that have continued and progressed, haven't they? So
and those iterations of those games have been produced in conjunction with the hardware and the capabilities at that moment in time, which spans over 30 or 40 years.
Mm.
But
and also, for those who don't know, for those on the Nintendo Switch, it's in full 4K, isn't it right, VJ? Full 4K at 140 frames per second or something like that, you know.
That's what VJ was telling us. It's amazing what they get out of it.
What I did say, I don't know if it was on this show or a couple of shows, but when I think the chat about, what's going to be game of the year, and everyone was talking about, I think it was Redfall, right, not being 60, and so I said, you've got to bear in mind that, I think it was in private chat, right, I said, so you've got to bear in mind that this year's game of the year is probably going to be 720p in a handheld.
You did say that. You did say that, yes.
At 30 frames per second, if you're lucky. So, so yeah, it's the thing with Zelda, it always carries a universal message of love and kindness, and I think it appeals to such a mass audience, and that's why it's always been popular, regardless of the fact the talent that they've always seemed to harness and put together and assemble, right, to produce these games, and it never ceases to amaze. And in general, though, rather than saying, "Oh, what is Zelda? What is it about?" Go and play it and try it, because anyone's opinion, that's what I'm kind of concerned about, is giving an opinion. But if you love video games and you've never played Zelda or a Mario game, you should do, just for your own benefit. So then you can compare and contrast with other experiences that you have throughout the rest of your life.
So now we've got the description out of the way. How are you finding it?
I was struggling. I don't know if I mentioned it to you or to Stubbs. I think it might have been Luke, actually. I forget. I have long-term memory, but my short-term memory is shot now, the older I get. And because the the B and the A and the Y and the X are sort of inverted on the Nintendo Pro controller in comparison to the Xbox controller, and after just playing a couple of hundred hours in MechWarrior 5, I just kept pressing the wrong button for about the opening 4 or 5 hours, and it was kind of frustrating. But I did remember when God of War 2018 came out, I really struggled with the control system compared to the previous God of Wars. And even Breath of the Wild, when I first picked up the Pro controller, obviously this was at launch for the original Nintendo Switch, I struggled to play the new Zelda because of all the new mechanics it introduced. And obviously, the controllers for the Nintendo Switch was very different to the Wii, to the Nintendo Wii, and then the N64. The GameCube, and then the N64 prior to that, right? So, so I would say it is definitely one of those games that is easy to pick up and play, but very difficult to master. Especially, do you remember when we had a lot of people sort of talk about Elden Ring and say, "Oh, I tried Elden Ring, and there was this sort of Centurion horseback, in golden armor and golden black armor on this massive steed, and I just kept getting, sort of one shot. It's not for me. I've got a refund." It's like that to some degree. But for me, because I played the Breath of the Wild and I played Elden Ring, what I did, Removable, I won't spoil it for you, but there's something called a stone. You might have seen it in the trailers, but there's a stone boss enemy, and a stone talus, and you don't really notice it at first. But I won't go into that. But let's just say it was like fighting the opening.
That was your it was your very first indication of how hard the bosses could be.
Yeah. So basically, but just imagine that I didn't avoid that first field boss, and I just stayed there for an hour until I'd overcome it. Right, even with only my first few hearts in the game, but you're not supposed to. Well, you can, where you are. It's up to you. You have the choice, right? But you can punish yourself or move on and come back later. But I decided to stay there, and I think that rather than the opening tutorial really helped me to get my timing and get the feel back for the Nintendo Pro controller and where the buttons are and how to execute and so on. So much so, I went to play MechWarrior 5 this morning, and I kept pressing the wrong button. So so I reprogrammed myself once again to play with the Nintendo Pro controller, but went to MechWarrior 5 and I started to make a mess of things. So yeah, that kind of should really paint the picture of what I've been through.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. But I mean, overall, though, it's
astonishing. Yeah, it's
hit that sweet spot you was looking for again.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, that is.
I don't know if it would say it would hit the sweet spot, because I play a lot of
I mean, talk about in the Zelda franchise.
It's difficult to say. I'm very early in. I really enjoyed Breath of the Wild, but because I hadn't played anything like Breath of the Wild before in the Zelda series, because Wind Waker or Ocarina of Time, they're different games, you see, because they continually innovate and they continually introduce new mechanisms and etc. and layers of gameplay that they into each new iteration of the game. So it's really hard right now to even compare Tears of the Kingdom as the same game as Breath of the Wild, because it's similar ground you're treading upon, but it's had layers of blessings laid upon it, right, over on top of the original game. So if the first game was fantastic, this is adding icing and much more to it. But I haven't discovered enough in terms to say, oh, it's like this, it's like that, and so on and so forth. But what I can say so far is it's been fantastic, and it kind of something that Masuko sent me. It said the guy described it, the gentleman described it. It oozes class and is confident within itself. And I think that's actually a correct assessment of the game.
Ooh, sounds very, very good.
And
of course, we'll keep up with you as you progress.
Yeah, I will say one thing, Removal. I think give it a little time. Once more people have played it, once the reviewers have, I know they've made their reviews, but once they've managed to, over a period of time, able to digest the content that they've consumed and written about and spoken about, I think that this game in itself may very well lead to even helping other designers across the board, whether you're a mobile game designer, handheld game designer, whether you're a PC game designer, indie game designer, AAA designer, whatever. This game will help you to evolve your skills, and I think it will also be a benefit to designers of the future. It's got that sense to it. I can't tell you, 100% it does, but I get the sense that this is going to be one of those. I hate to use the word case study because it kind of is diminishing it in some ways, but it actually might end up being, a Bible for a lot of game designers.
Like a showpiece kind of thing.
Showpiece is to a degree, yes, because the game does look fantastic on the hardware. I cannot get over some of the stuff that they're managing to do on this hardware in terms of the foliage system and there's bits of grass flowing about when the wind blows, the water, just you'd think that the system is going to struggle, but when it says Breath of the Wild and you really think about the wild and how nature actually looks and feels, this game is the only one out of all the open world games that I've played that really encapsulates it. And I was saying to Removable as well, I said, Removable, one thing, and I may be wrong, and I think Luke can actually attest to this or perhaps, disagree. But I find that the color palette used in Zelda is almost very similar or almost identical to the one used within the realms of Elden Ring. It's just that it's rendered very differently.
Okay.
I just sort of said to myself, if I open and close my eyes really quickly, I might just be playing Elden Ring versus Zelda Breath of the Wild. And but so far it's been fantastic, and I haven't been able to put it down, even though I was struggling with the control system. But now I'm slowly but surely getting back in the saddle, as they say, just as I've managed to tame a couple of wild horses and take them back to the stables for registration.
Mm-hmm.
You actually do that in the game, so yeah.
It's good to hear you enjoying it. Definitely is, because it's there's been a lot of excitement around the game, because I knew when it came out, because Nintendo with their first party, they always hit, but they seem to have really hit this time. But as you say, though, a lot of the reviewers probably haven't completed the game 100%. Do you know what I mean?
The thing I find with reviewers, they have a finite amount of time to get the product out.
Yeah, it's not long, is it?
If you were just given this game and said, "Here you go," Zelda is almost like a beacon of light, right? You seek to diminish, you put your mind to one side, right? And not worry about what you're going to play. Otherwise, you're going to quickly find yourself in an overwhelming world you don't understand. So you've really got to enjoy it. So with the problem with the reviews, I know everybody loves Zelda, and everybody loves Nintendo, and everybody knows that if you perhaps don't give it a certain mark, Nintendo may frown upon you. And given the behemoth that they are within the industry, they have a tremendous amount of influence. And if you don't understand that or don't believe that it has a bearing on what people say and don't say, and how Nintendo react, then you're being a fool. But at the same time, not to diminish the capabilities of the development team, because what they've produced, given the limited hardware, is quite astonishing, because they are constrained, right, in terms of what they can do on such a small device. I don't know, removable. I'm not a complete technical person in terms of know-how and so on and so forth, but the YouTube videos do not do it justice at all. And I think
it's a hard. Yeah, the thing with reviewing is you're never going to get across easily enough the experience of enjoying a game, or sometimes even the problems with a game over a video. It'll be watered down, compressed, or something will be off, or it's a hard thing to do to get it across sufficiently, even when you provide evidence, just like, here's a pop-ins and stuff like that. Those things are hard to do, and also they're subjective, because what may work on one person's PC or console may be very different to another person's experience. We've seen this with Redfall in terms of some people had crashes, frame skips, bad texturing, huge pop-ins and major issues. Some people had nothing, and so it's a hard task to do when you're reviewing. The only best thing you can do as a reviewer is just give your honest opinion, and as you said, go ask them to play it themselves, or at the very least watch someone who potentially live streams it, who will showcase off to you their experience in the full. So you can get maybe a better judgment for yourself. It's whatever you do, it's an opinion thing. It always will be, isn't it, as a reviewer? So, as you said, if you can, I think there's a demo out for, isn't it? Am I correct?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Not that Luke might know. I doubt it. I never looked for the demo. To be honest with you, you know what? It's funny you say demo. I was surprised that even Dragon Quest 12 got a demo, because it never ever had done before on the Switch. So that's why I didn't want to say absolutely not, because stranger things have happened, which I didn't actually know at the time.
I could be wrong, but I thought there was going to be a demo.
Luke's confirmed no demo.
Okay, there you go.
I just wanted to add is that, look, it's difficult for me to talk about Zelda, because when you ask me, what's the game like? Because my mind always goes blank, because I had a friend of mine, and in a past life, and it may even be a dream from another world, who knows? But anyway, her name was Zelda, and her full name, when I asked her to reveal it, was Zelda Amy Diamond, right? And the only picture that I have of her that exists is one when her and I were really, really young, and it's the way I remember her, and the kind of way I remember Zelda, and I don't know if it's my memories getting mixed up, is that when I see Zelda, her power comes from a sort of a pure and joyful and playful energy, and the best way I can personify that in an example is personified in an abundance in terms of man's best friend. If you've ever had a dog, but that the energy that they exude, and that energy, sort of my colleagues, shall I call them that? Because sometimes I think I don't really have friends. You just have that people you come by in life, and manifests all that energy, that kind of joy and pleasure and playfulness and the purity that manifests itself in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, if that makes sense. Like, and I think that the main messages are love and kindness and hope and so on and so forth, and that they are the message. They're always the answer. And Ganondorf, in his own way, is trying to threaten that by igniting division and conflict, and that's the message, I think, continuously that the Zelda games convey. So it's not just that the games are incredible; it's that, for me, that they sort of deliver a timeless, sort of universal encoded message on a continuous basis. And I think that even if you don't realize that, you're kind of drawn to the beauty of that and the ugliness of Ganondorf, because we all, within us, no matter how benevolent we think we are, we all have a semblance of Ganondorf in us as well, right? So it's I think that's the truth of it, to me, at least, from my sort of narrow experience, and I think that's why, whether you understand Zelda, you don't really understand it, you've got to know that there's a universal encoded message there, and that's why so many people are drawn to it, not just the visuals, not just the gameplay, and that's probably one of Nintendo's top 5, I think. I don't know if it's in the top 3, but it's definitely in the top 5, the sort of accumulated sales across all of the games that have been released in the Zelda series. Sorry about that.
Not at all. Stubbs has gone quiet.
No, I'm just taking it all in because I know nothing about Zelda. I've never played Zelda before. I haven't. I learned a bit there. I mean, it is.
To be fair though, Stubbs, you could say that for pretty much most games. You play the tutorial and that's it. It's not.
Well, we see. I do play more than what people think I play, but I am working.
Excuse me, Gears of War is not classified as playing what we expect.
Well, I've been playing more games recently. I have been on that.
What particular game have you been playing recently?
What game have I been playing? A Coffee Talk. It's
quite a good game. And how do we lovely transition from Zelda into another game? Ta-da! So tell us about it then.
Thanks for that insight, VJ, on how you've been enjoying it so far.
I can't get my words out. It has a kind of a personal sort of connection to Zelda.
Yeah.
So whenever anyone asks me a question about Zelda, my mind immediately goes to Miss Diamond. If that makes sense. Anyway, please carry on, Mr. Stubbs. Sorry about that.
Welcome to who we got in now.
Sergeant Sentinel Gaming,
and also Luke Steele. I never welcomed you, but I mentioned you.
Suku
was already here. Pixel Slapper as well. But yes, I've been playing Coffee Talk, and obviously I thought this game was just about coffee. And obviously, you make coffee, you make various different drinks as well in the game. It's very, without spoiling it, it's very
therapeutic.
Misuku said very relaxing. We've got to be careful because it will send you. It's that relaxing. If you're tired, you will fall asleep. It's not through being bored. It's just the way the game is. It's not so much about coffee. It's about it's very
personal connections and relationships.
Yes, it's about looking at the different people within the coffee shop as such and the relationships they have. That's what it's about, and it's a very simple game. So everyone, that's probably why I like it. But yeah, it's a different kind of game. Episode 2's come out recently. I've obviously not played that because
it's out already. Is it out already? I thought it was, for some reason I thought it was out in October. If it's out already, then I'll have to download that.
I'm sure Masuku can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's out now. I am, or out soon.
What's that?
Episode 2 of Coffee Talk. I thought it was.
It is. Out. Yes, it is.
There you go.
It is. Yes. I don't know if it's on Game Pass, but I think it is out.
I got Coffee Talk because it was previously on Gold, and I added it to my library. That's how I got it. I didn't go and buy it. It was part of Gold ages ago. It was. That's how I got it. But yeah, I'm enjoying that. Been playing Persona. Not so much this week, but
which one?
5 Royale. I need to get. It's a big game though. That is. It's but there
I
is
really wish you'd just said I'm playtesting 6, Sanity, for your information.
I'm playtesting 6. Just broken my NDA. I have. Thanks, Pixel Slapper. I've got 3 months Game Pass.
Just so those that don't know what an NDA is, it's not a light bulb that you drop or a
non-disclosure agreement.
And I'm not testing any game. If I complete it, it'll be my first Persona I've ever what's it called? Completed. Yes. But yeah, I'm enjoying that game. I'm a man who RemovableSanity. He often struggles to say what he's playing because he's often under NDA because he's a reviewer.
That's the thing. Well, that, and I don't want to end up,
ruining it, basically, review.
Yeah, I don't want to end up giving my thoughts on something too early in, I like to do the game justice before I make any decisions or anything like that.
I noticed, because when me and VJ were playing Redfall, RemovableSanity would not let on if he loved this game or not. He wouldn't. It's in the reviewing in him. He would not let on his thoughts while playing it. He was hesitating, weren't he, VJ? He wouldn't say.
I don't know. I wouldn't say he was hesitating. I think that I think that Removable takes his reviewing of video games was like a bit of a busman's holiday for him. It's almost like his second career, shall we say? And the thing is that if you haven't, I've never reviewed games. I've critiqued them, but if I like them or I don't like them, and that's fair enough. But going all in and abusing games and people and publishers and funders and all sorts is going a bit too far, right?
Exactly.
At the end of the day, you buy a sandwich, you don't know who made it, right? You don't know how it got there. You don't know if it's third party or Marks and Spencer's made it, or whether it was dished up from yesterday or someone left it on the shelf as they were shopping. At the end of the day, you try it and you'll give your opinion whether you like the mayonnaise in it or not. So, but I think for Removable is that I'm more philosophical, where I would say he's got more of a critical eye. Is that's his, as I say, his second career, and he's whether he's reviewing a game or playing a game for the first time in Game Pass because it's available there, he's always going to have that critical, not that reviewer facet about him, right? On a continuous and continuously, he's never going to switch it off. Especially,
that can be a detriment in some cases.
No, but it's. I just wanted to. I mean, we had some, jokes right at the expense of Redfall. We make jokes and we make jovial comments, even if we're playing good games. I mean, I think one of the things we were saying every time I kept getting knocked down and needed reviving, I just kept saying, "Don't revive me, just save yourselves." And as in, look, please stop making me play this game, right? Because everything that I've come to appreciate in open world shooters or co-op shooters, especially after playing Back 4 Blood, this game that tries very hard to diminish those things I've come to appreciate, and they're actually depreciating those values, even though I'm trying to enjoy it. And Remover, how much I was looking forward to playing that, right? As I kept asking, I said, are we definitely going to be playing it? We're definitely going to be playing it. And then Masuko, was busy with life and with working with family, and we managed to send some pills. I've forgotten what the pills for sleep, opposite of sleep pills are. But anyway, we sent some uppers to Stubbs, so he managed to stay awake and play with us. But it didn't engage me to the degree where I wanted to go back and torture myself yet again, especially when you've got Mech Warrior, you've got Zelda, and you've got other very competitive games out there, that are available to play. But at the same time, I can completely understand why Removable wouldn't give an opinion, because he's just programmed or geared or of a mind whereby, listen, you know what, I've got to see every facet of what this game has got to offer, because maybe, just maybe, it'll turn a corner, and I can totally respect that. Yeah,
I don't know. I think a game like that is probably, was it about 25 to 30 hours long. We were like in hour 1, and I'm like, I can't really say it at the moment. There were things I didn't like about it, but it's like, I've seen it before where the first couple of hours could be horrendous, absolutely horrendous, and then for some strange reason it turns a corner and it's like this is one of the best games I've ever bloody played. But that very first almost aspect of it can almost break a game. So I'm a bit more hyper aware of in the background, and that's why I was like, I'm not going to say anything until I play a little bit more of it. In fact, after you two kind of left, and I actually have gone back again and tried to play it again about for another hour solo, just to try and see and give my thoughts on it. And I was like, yeah, something's still not clicking with me at the moment. And that's the best I'm going to give on it, is that it's just not clicking with me. This game is not clicking with me in any shape or form. I know there are people out there who are having a great time with it.
That's fair enough. Each to their own,
and that's fair enough. But for me, it's not clicking. And that does not diminish anything else, you know.
There are people out there in the community playing it, and I think that is a good thing, and I'll tell you why. Because even though other people are saying it's not good, it's not clicking with me, as in your case, or it's really not a game I want to invest my time in because it's limited as it is. In my defense, well, lack of defense, I should say, is that people should play through it, because there are other games that they would have played that they may actually come to appreciate. So there's always a silver lining to playing through something, even as a case study, right? And especially even if you were given the task of reviewing it, even though I'd probably have to pay you about 10 grand to do. I'm just kidding. It's you know, there's a benefit of doing it, because that's what most studios do after they've created a game, no matter how successful it's been or how poorly received it's been, or poorly received and sold well, all the connotations, or combinations below. All studios have to do a post-mortem, or if some have stopped doing it, they absolutely should, because they'll learn a lot more. You learn a lot more post the game launching and assessing it all through a post-mortem, even more so. Well, I would say it complements the actual development process, and so you're learning from both aspects.
Yeah. We have Mr. Friendly Pest has turned up, and welcome, Mr. Frest, and also our favourite indie gamer.
Welcome, indie gamer. Welcome to Friendly Pest. But yeah, no, have you been playing any other games, Removable, that you've been playing recently that you can talk about at least?
Yeah, I've just completed. Well, I haven't the review for Dead Island 2. And that one I was thoroughly enjoyed. And of course, one of the things being a reviewer for those sorts of games is I only got the game on launch from.
Okay.
So for me, it's it was a hard task, because I'm pretty much behind every other person, every other big reviewers who's out there who can just give you.
Hello. Removable? Have you muted yourself?
Sorry about that. Yeah, most people will probably have already seen a lot of reviews about that. So for me, one of the biggest things was like, well, what fresh take can I do on something that's probably getting a hell of a lot of reviews already? So for me, I get a comparison from the original one I played to the new one, which was very different games in terms of years. But I think, as I said, if you haven't seen the review, I think it's done a very good job for the franchise. So yeah, that was a really good one. And then currently, I've also been we played a little bit of Diablo, the server slam between all three of us, and we've also played. For me, I also played now and then with VJ on MechWarrior 5, another underrated game that probably doesn't get enough attention. That is out. I think it's out on Game Pass as well.
It is. That's how I've downloaded it. Not tried it yet, but downloaded it.
It's a game that, again, I think it's a very underrated game, but it's a slow burner. It will be one of these games that requires you to kind of probably take your time with it, get used to the control system, get used to what you need to do. But it's as in-depth as you wish to go, or it's as easy and quick as you wish to go. You however much effort you want to put into that game, it will reward you with. That's the best way to describe it, isn't it, VJ?
Look, I'm not as analytical as I say, or a teacher or a guide as Removable, and I'm, far from being a super philosophical sort of bloke. But for me, and I was talking to Removable about this, the one thing I can compare MechWarrior to is it's another astonishing game which I wouldn't have come across if you hadn't introduced me to it. But I was saying to Removable, the best way I can sort of explain this is that if you play chess with anyone, and not in terms of chess, oh my goodness, how do the pieces move, this, that, and the other. No. What chess does, like very few games do, is teach you about yourself, how you operate, and so on and so forth. So if you've ever had a friend that plays with you, plays, let's say, a couple of dozen games with you, or play a couple of dozen games with one or two or three random people, then ask them, look, can you take a minute and just make some notes in terms of exactly what I do and exactly how you see me play, and what moves do I do, what moves do I restrict myself, what do I, how do I go around the board, and how do I make execute? Do I hoard pieces? Do I sacrifice them? All that kind of stuff. And what it actually does, chess does, it actually teaches you about yourself in terms of how you operate, and in terms of, and also sort of, it teaches you and unlocks your personality traits so that you can really see them, and then figure out, if that's whether you like or don't like that about yourself, whether you want to change or adjust. And MechWarrior is similar in that way, because I went in and I remember telling him, oh, I'm just going to go and just go around blasting stuff while I wait for Tears of the Kingdom to drop. And, which you can to a degree, but the difficulty ramps up. Not just in terms of the different sort of universal galaxies or quadrants of the galaxies on the map that open up to you as you progress. So the levels of those areas, they become sort of progressively more difficult, and within those, the missions also scale up. I think I started off on like Area 6, mission level 10, and now I'm in sort of area, I don't know, I think it's Area 11 or 12 now, where mission difficulties ramps up to 80. So
I mean, what I was saying is you could potentially stay stuck in the early zone missions and just keep playing and and having a good laugh there. You don't have to progress.
It's intriguing. Because have you really spent a couple of 100 hours in MechWarrior, VJ?
According to, look, I have been playing it solid for a couple of weeks, and at least 2 weeks. Fair enough. And I just went on to the Xbox information portion of that sort of that tells you, look, these are the details on how long you've been playing the
stats.
How accurate that is, I can't tell you. And really, I just know that I've put a lot of time in, and I've seen a couple of videos now, and people have got like 12 million in terms of C bills, and I don't know what their overall sort of value is, worth is, but I haven't seen anyone like, I've got 250,000 in C bills. No, sorry, 250 million in C bills, and an overall net worth of 600 million, right, in the game. So, and I said that to Removable. So I don't know how that compares to him exactly, but it gives you an idea how much I've been playing it. But a lot of it's been to do with every time you go into a match, you can replay the match if you want. Well, if you've saved before, then that's one thing I would definitely advise you to do. But any RPG or long haul game you play is continue to save. Is like in Persona 5, Mr. Stubbs, is that you do figure out, like, in terms of your approach to specific missions, the opponents that you're going to face, the terrain, and I got ambushed yesterday, Removable, the level designs and everything was changed. But yeah, so it does teach you a lot about yourself, and it has done for me as well in how I approach games. I don't normally play these types of games, but I'd welcome MechWarrior 6, and we'll look for more games that offer this kind of hidden depth to them. But not only are they really fun to play, and sort of super exciting and stuff like that, but but also teaches you a lot as well. So so in all departments, it's a win-win situation. And I think, as Removal pointed out, you can play as much time. You can spend as much time tweaking your mechs, which there's like, I think I've only got like 30 or 40%, about 35 to 40% of the 300 or 400 mechs that are available. And and tweak those in terms of the weapons and all the other accessories you want to place on to build your own perfect mech as far as the game will allow. But
so here, apparently, according to Darren, he had a look, and you've got 8 days, 5 hours, 14 minutes so far. That's a hefty time. That is.
I just don't know if the way that the Xbox tracks the time is accurate. That's the only thing, right? I don't know how.
Yeah, if you've gone off for a half hour and left it on, does it still continue tracking it, or does it?
Because you've got the quick resume. Does it still stay on? Or say like me, when I fall asleep, it's still.
Yeah, I it's always on quick resume. It's been on quick resume for the last 3 weeks. So. Yeah. So that's 21 days in itself. So it's not saying it's on 21 days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's difficult. Yeah,
I think it is pretty accurate to a degree. I think it is for the moment you are resuming and you start moving around. That's when it starts tracking you. But again, it's not really. We don't know 100%. But in terms of the hours, you have played it quite a bit. And I said every time I spoke to you, like I'm on Mech 5. I'm on Mech 5. I'm on Mech 5. Like, okay, and it was like I didn't expect you in any shape or form to kind of enjoy the game. I thought it was just one of the games that's like, hey, I really like this game.
Yeah,
maybe you should try it if you want, because we was looking for a co-op game to kind of fill our time prior to Redfall. I said, like, if you want to try and do a co-op game with me, jump on and we'll see what it's like. And it kind of moved on from there, didn't it, really?
I would say that this game, like most other games, took a lot of ability and a lot of time and a clear vision to make. And I know that this is the 5th in the series and obviously different hardware, etc. But if Armored Core 6 succeeds in such a way that it captures a chunk of the Elden Ring player base, which it will, obviously, right? MechWarrior, whether it's 5 or 6, if 6 is in production, I have no idea. Will come up in more conversation as an alternate option that will have its own sort of expansive player base, and it's going to be a cause and effect, and hopefully the success of one will reciprocate and sort of rub off on one or the other, and hopefully I hope it does, and I think that would be a positive effect going forward. And I know that Armored Core 6 doesn't have traditional co-op. But one thing I would definitely agree with what Removable said is that the rewards for co-op, depending on who's being invited. So the invited should definitely, glean something for participating, which definitely needs to be looked at.
Yeah, technically, in MechWarrior 5, you are basically a human version of the AI. So for those who don't know it, you can play as one mech, or generally as you get further along, you can have 4 other mechs, and those 4 other mechs are controlled by 3 AIs. The game does allow up to 4 people, and you take control of one of those AIs. You control the host's mech. So it can also be a little bit scary because you're basically driving someone else's car, and if you damage it too much or you do too much, you could be damaging one of their favorite mechs. So you do have a little bit of a slight twinge when joining. But if they're pretty chill about it, you can have a great time playing with them. But as I said, as a player, you don't gain anything. You just basically are there to help them out and just have a great time. And that's not saying there is just, you can also just, that's through the campaign mode. There is just a multiplayer mode without campaign, but campaign is probably the best way to go because as you said, it helps out your friend and you get to, see all the cool stuff that the campaign throws at you.
Yeah.
It's good to hear that MechWarrior 5 being mentioned, because I remember when it first dropped in Game Pass, the likes of Pong Soul was excited to play it, but I haven't heard many people playing it in quite a while. I haven't. It's nice. I reviewed the DLC for it
about a year ago, and it's still coming out with DLC even today.
Is it paid for DLC on top, obviously, because it's a small developer, aren't they?
It is, yes. So for Game Pass, I think you can get the game, but I don't think you can get the DLC.
No.
That's fair. I understand this because
which is fair enough.
Indie development, indie studio. I wouldn't expect it all to be free.
But what the individual DLC does, it does bring a lot of stuff to the game as well. So the one of the DLC that I reviewed was the Inner Sphere, and it brought a whole new swathe of different things you can do, different ways, different perks, different machines, different, even different generated missions and stuff like that. It kind of really did put in a whole new thing to it.
See, what I would say about people trying MechWarrior 5, number one, normally whenever you go back to try a game that has had some very good things said about it, if there's other things in vogue, I find that gamers are easily swayed to play what's in vogue rather than what might be something exceptional.
That's true. Exactly, that is true. I'll give you that, because usually you play a game and then you're enjoying it, and I'm guilty of it as well. And then this new everyone's playing it in Game Pass or whatever, and everyone goes and tries the next thing, and then they're on to the next thing. It's like a new hot thing, but you are right.
It's all about the modern culture, right, of being part of the conversation. When the problem is that's your thought, right, telling, and that's what's causing a lot of the problems within you. Is that if you follow your thought, as in, well, play this because that's in vogue, well, then that's what you'll do, and you'll miss out on a lot of things. If you go with your instinct and say, look, there's a lot of good things said about this, I have an interest in this, someone's also recommended it, so why not give it a go? And all those people trying Redfall to find, I'm not saying everybody, but trying to find value in it, I would suggest
there's a lot of games back in Game Pass that you could easily try that's equally is providing value to the Game Pass subscription service.
I would say MechWarrior 5, though, Removable, it will give you an experience that other games, well, 99% of other games.
I need to try it now. I need to try it before the next.
It will give you an experience that other games won't give you, but it will.
I will say it's one of those games. I would say it's a bit of a Marmite game, wouldn't you say? It's either you'll get into it or you won't. Because I think a couple of people, when it first launched, it was like, they couldn't get into it, and I think it's just because they didn't stick with it.
Removable, I actually have to disagree with you there a little bit, right? The problem with MechWarrior, if you're a typical gamer, you will look at it and think, okay, doesn't have particularly great sound, doesn't have a particularly great UI, doesn't particularly correspond with my button control systems, which I'm used to, which are sort of like atypical with all other games. And it doesn't particularly have great visuals. It doesn't have a particularly great UI system. But the thing is that unlike other games, when you put it all together and actually play it for a few hours, which I don't know if a lot of people have the patience to do so, it is one of those games that is greater than all of its sum of its parts, and and within a couple of hours it all clicks. The universe, the galaxy map, the UI, the visuals, the music, the animation systems, the intricacies of the mechs, building them out, how they look, being able to, doing, I forgot what that's called, the cosmetic part to all of your mechs. Different types of loadouts and stuff like that. So, and even the control system, which takes a little time, because I would say Zelda's probably got a tougher control system learning curve than MechWarrior 5. That's telling you something there, right there, Removable. Is that I think that gamers predominantly are snobbish, because I remember in the 80s and 90s and 100s, in the early 2000s, everything used to be about, oh my goodness, look at this, look at the visuals, they look amazing. And that used to be the initial pull for vast majority of games. Oh my god, look at this, it looks almost arcade perfect. Remember that terminology used to be on every gamer's lips during the 90s. So I think the initial thing is it in vogue? Are other people playing it? So I'm been able to have a conversation. And number three is that, as I say to you, is that sooner or later there'll come a point when everything clicks into place, and it's something that you can't put down. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Let's put it this way: I spent more time playing MechWarrior 5 than I did Hollow Knight.
That could
Oh,
kicked off
the
the show.
stir the
make
chat
you
up now.
lose a fan there now.
Oh, the chat's going to be stirred up by that comment.
I had to get a comment in about
Hollow Knight, yeah. But it is one of those games. I think it is. He said this is a game that is. There is thousands and thousands of hours if you wish to do so. There is, it could be ultimate. I won't say it's ultimately never ending, but it's a pretty good indicator. It's a pretty close enough to that. There is so many different alternate generated missions and stuff like that. Boo, yes, indeed, boo. It's a generally, for me, I found it was a generally really good game. Put it this way, I played the DLC and then bought the game, even though it was on Game Pass. It was just like, that's it, I'm taking it, because it's one of those games I would like to. And as I've said to you, it's one of those games that I've left it for 6 months, come back to it and played for 3 months, then left it for another 6 months, come back to it and played for it for 3 months. I've never had a problem with it, and it's just been a fun experience each time. So, there's that.
Thanks for popping in, BMG. Appreciate it, mate.
Have a good BM.
I've got to check it out, I reckon.
I would say, how would you recommend to VJ to Stubbs? Would you recommend he starts solo, or do you recommend he should try and?
I think that the benefit I had is that when I started to play Mech Warrior, obviously the co-op opportunity doesn't begin until you finish the mission called Last Man Standing.
That's right.
But initially, but while I was playing it, I was chatting to you, so we were chatting about something else, but I was able to load it up, play it, and then ask you questions while I was playing it. So and that helped me just ease me into it, and so ask some questions. So what I would suggest is that if you're going to play it, Mr. Stubbs, is that if you get sort of slightly frustrated or not understanding something, well, I don't think you will, because you've played through Persona, which also can be a little strange. But yeah, I think that if you try it, and it's highly rewarding. But I think you've got myself, and then you've got the authority in Removable that can sort of guide you in terms of how to play it. I tell you what, almost to the point when I watch the videos that are out there in terms of guides and tips and guides in terms of how to play, I almost felt like, I could probably do a better job myself. But
really?
I almost did. I was like, let me just write.
The content creator.
Well,
trust me, he has an analytical mind for it. Yeah,
it would be for Mech Warrior 5 specifically, because what's out there is good, but it's not great. But what is out there is still good. I'm just saying it could be a lot better. But it is what it is. But it's a fantastic game, and I'm so pleased. If it wasn't in Game Pass, I would never have heard of it. But I think you've heard many people say that. I mean, you've just mentioned it right off the top with Coffee Talk, right?
Yeah.
Which also teaches you about your own observational skills, about how you look at other people, what they're discussing, and how you judge others. So it actually teaches you a few things as well about yourself. So that's what I try to find. I try to find games that teach me, about myself, as well as, enjoying what they have to offer.
That's the best way to be.
That's true. I was typing back to Andy then. Sorry. But no, that is true. I didn't think I'd like it. The name's deceiving. I just thought, Coffee Talk, it's all about coffee. Not really about coffee at all. You make coffee and you make drinks. I've learned how to make different drinks.
Well, Coffee Talk is technically isn't it like a phrase, catchphrase. Oh, we just had a bit of coffee talk, So I think it's more along the lines of a catchphrase of conversing with each other, rather than it's coffee. If that makes sense.
I remember there was a time, I think in the mid 2000s, and my first Korean drama was My Lovely Kim Sang-soon, and I was watching the show, and And all of a sudden, I said, "Is there any other good shows out there?" And nearly every other show, Coffee Time, Coffee Talk, Coffee Palace, Coffee Maestro, nearly every other Korean TV show that was coming out that was a hit had the word coffee and the word coffee. And I said, "Why?" He said, "Oh, because we just have." I had a Korean girlfriend at the time, and I was spending some time in Korea, and it's just like she said, look, for our generation, a lot of youngsters, they travel abroad, they travel to Dubai, they travel to France, they travel to Singapore, they travel to Japan, and they live over there in Australia, and they learn, various things about making pastries, because obviously it's not common, to grow up in Korea to be taught this kind of. So you go overseas to learn these things, and coffee was one of the biggest imports or exports from countries outside of Asia to affect that generation, and everybody's dream is to go back to Korea and find a little spot somewhere in either Busan or Jeju Island, or some outskirts of Seoul, or even in a small district within Seoul, and open up a little coffee shop. There's no sort of, I'm sure there are a Starbucks over there, but people prefer the sort of
personal,
home,
the little, well, as you've seen from Persona 5.
as in Persona 5, yeah. So and that's what everybody's dream is, to save enough, go overseas, work, make enough money, come back and open up a little coffee shop. And that's why there's hundreds and hundreds, well, not hundreds, but at least dozens of these Korean TV shows, whether it's 16 episodes or 18 episodes, one season wonders only. And every single sort of show, as far as I can remember, had the word coffee in it. So I'm not surprised there's coffee talk now. The game.
It's the dream.
I keep calling it coffee time. I don't call it coffee talk. I keep in my mind. I'm going to play coffee time. What? Coffee time. So I don't know why, but that's stuck in my mind versus coffee talk, if that makes sense. But I understand why they're calling it talk, but I would have called it time.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's
I think it's got more of a ring to it. That's just me.
Coffee time, coffee talk. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, for Stubbs, it'd be burger time, maybe. Burger talk. Okay, there you go. I've just set out a brand new game for everybody. Burger talk. Please give your royalties to me when you create it. Because it was a cultural thing. I think it still is it in Japan? I think it still is a cultural. As you said in Persona 5.
Just play Persona 5. That's all I'll say. Yeah,
that has a perfect coffee shop aspect to it. In fact, I think so. It's a unique sort of cultural thing that has kind of lingered and stayed through the generations. But apart from that, so right now you're stuck with Zelda, MechWarrior 5, and did you say Final Fantasy? You were still
Final Fantasy 16 is out. Luke might know because he's obviously got all this stuff at the end of his fingertips. Is out, I think, sometime in June 22nd, which I would really love to play. I just need to understand the game a little bit more before I go ahead and buy it. Or pre-order and buy it. And the other one is, I'm keeping an eye on, obviously Removable, is Diablo 4, right, to play with you. So
that is, and just to let you know, Stubbs, I did say to VJ, because he has asked me, and we had a great time playing it, even with you as well. And he did say, "Are you buying this game?" And it's like, look, if I had the funds, I'd probably buy it day one.
70 notes. I looked.
I don't have the funds, so I will be getting it, just probably not straight off the bat because I just don't have the funds to do so. But I have said to him that when I do get it, because VJ is going to get it, when I do get it, we're going to probably go through it and sit down and go through it together. Yeah. You're more than welcome if you at that time as well to join us.
Yeah, if I can get it.
If you can get it, yeah. I'm hoping it'll drop. I'm hoping it. That's the thing. Does anyone remember if Diablo 3 did it drop in price?
Luke will tell you. I guarantee it. He probably knows. He knows everything.
The other thing I just wanted to mention, Removable, is obviously with the big show events coming up in June, I'm not sure what's going to perhaps or potentially be shadow dropped.
Yes.
and
Starfield. Dun, 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 dun. Gear 6.
Yeah.
Gear 6
Don't
Starfield.
tease me. Don't tease me.
Well, yeah, and I don't know how far Silk Song is off, but basically it's kind of adjusted. So I'm playing Zelda now, MechWarrior, then it will be Final Fantasy 16, and then I've got a slot open for Silk Song, Diablo, and Spider-Man 2, obviously, and then whatever else is in the offing that is promised in June. Not that I hold my breath for it, and Starfield will be something that when I'm ready, I'll play. I don't think it'll be something I'll play straight away. I just again,
I agree. It's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those RPGs that you're going to have to set a hell lot of time aside for it.
If it hits the way it should hit, the way the game's been talked up and all this
I have said numerous times.
The rest of the year, but that's if it hits and it's good. And no one, I'll be honest, apart from hearing it's Skyrim in space, no one really knows what it is.
As I said, I've seen nothing about it. I've seen no gameplay. I've seen, I have seen a little bit of gameplay. They did show a little bit of gameplay. I haven't seen any enough to give me a good warrant on whether I'm getting it or not. I know it's
anyway.
I do.
Yeah,
but it's one of those games that, but even with Game Pass, that is a game. It's going to be like Fallout. It's a game that's going to put a hell of a lot of time into it, and you're going to be having to set aside that time to do so. I've got at least 2 or 3 RPGs I haven't fully finished yet. I mean, I've got Soul Hackers 2 to finish off yet. I haven't even finished off. Was it Like a Dragon? It's like, dear God.
Is this Luke's description of what Starfield is?
No,
RE4, Zelda, Dead Space, and Jedi Survivor rolled into one. He just Stubbs had it up for a minute and then took it down.
Yeah, he said, I'm more concerned I've got to complete Resident Evil 4, Zelda, Dead Space, and Jedi Survivor by June. Well, in fairness, Luke, the best way for that, because you recently went on holiday, is that's it. No more holidays, mate. No more chatting. Cut down those hours and just solely put a good straight weekend, every weekend till June, to finish them all off. I'm sure you can do it.
RE4 Dead Space, I'm pretty sure they're going to be like $20.
Luke's a AAA gamer now. Apparently, Luke's a AAA gamer.
No, it's not. I don't think you can. I think this dividing,
I know.
dividing games and this causing this sort of division between AAA, AA. I think it's all very, very personal. And you should just really enjoy the games and the times that we live in. There's just so much to play. I mean, if you had to tell me today, do you want to play Starfield or Silk Song? It would be Silk Song. It's just because I just had such a great experience with Hollow Knight.
Planet of Lana. Planet of One is one I keep an eye on.
That I want.
I played that at the EGX, and it's one I'm trying to hopefully get my hands on.
How was it?
I enjoyed it thoroughly at that AGX. I actually did really enjoy it, but the trouble is, I'm not going to say anything because I'm going to let everyone kind of go through it. Because normally at AGX they give you pre-alpha demos or pre-release demos or something like that, or pre-release elements. But what I had played of it, it was really enjoyable and a very beautiful art style. So again, I'm going to hold off, and hopefully I can try and grab hold of it.
I think the demo you played is what they put on Steam, to be honest.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm not. Have you ever played Inside, VJ, or
yes, and Limbo?
Yeah, well, both. it's kind of like that.
I think I was going to come on and be insulted today.
Just kind of, that's how I kind of, the way you go through the game. I've only played demo, but there's little puzzles and that kind of style of puzzles and stuff. I can't wait. And indie gamers going to be reviewing it. Nice, well done, congratulations. Can't wait for that review.
Who was it?
Sorry, I was going to say Zelda Breath of the Wild encompasses that, you see, as well, the puzzle solving, etc.
Yeah, nice.
It's just one tiny facet of the game.
Is it?
Oh yeah, without a doubt, yeah.
But no, Planet Lana's going to be good. Welcome to Back from the Dead. Thanks for popping in, mate. But yeah, Planet Lana will be one to watch for. That is definitely. I will be playing that one.
And Stubbs, Mr. Stubbsan, you what are you looking forward to?
Planet
Gears
Lana.
7.
Gears. Anything Gears related to be
Gears
revealed.
Tactics 2.
No, that's not. That's not going to happen. Let's not bother with that. No.
Hey, did you play Gears Tactics?
Yeah, I turned it off. Yeah.
Did you play with a controller or did you play with a mouse and keyboard?
Actually, no, because I'm a PC at the time. I played with a controller.
Right, try it with a mouse and keyboard.
I don't know, I can because it's very slow.
Well, that's why I said with a mouse and keyboard, it's a much quicker experience.
I might try that one.
I will say it now. I mean, even if you plug in a mouse and keyboard to your Xbox Series X, just plug it in. It's a much quicker experience and a much fluid experience. Those RTSs, if they don't implement the control system well, as you said, it slows everything down. It can feel like a bit of a slog to get through. Where if you can, I will say, I think it has got a very good mouse and keyboard implementation on the Series X or PC. So I would use those in that regards because it's a much more fun experience.
Don't know.
Give it a try. You're a Gears fan. Come on, you should be played. You should have played every single one.
I've played every mainline Gears. So there we go. If there ain't a tease, put it this way: in a minute in the Gears community, in content creation space and Twitch space, it's very negative. The Gears community are because they've had nothing. Xbox has never actually officially, although what the rumors say, Xbox on the record has never actually confirmed they're making Gear 6 on the record. It's never.
But that's what I said. It could be in a showcase. You could find, Gear 6 first-person shoot 'em up.
Hopefully,
or VR. You never know.
When they announced Gears 5, it was actually teased. A lot of people didn't see it to start with. You know them really fast sizzle reels they do.
Mm-hmm.
It was in there, and people didn't realise. They'd snuck it in. People thought it was Gears 4, it was Gears 5. But I'm hoping there's some kind of tease. I wouldn't expect a release this year. I'd expect tease and then a release next year.
Can I just say something as in someone who's not attached to Gears?
Yeah.
I played Gears 5 and then I think we co-opted together Hivebusters.
Yes.
And if it wasn't Gears of War, if Hivebusters 2 was announced, I'd really be looking forward to it. And that's just me who caught onto the Gears series late. But if Hivebusters 2 was announced, I'd be saying, wow, Removable, when we're going to co-op.
I think I think 5 was a little bit of a disappointment for the Gears fans. It was. I think they tried to go in a new direction. Good for them to try a new direction, but I don't think that direction translates well in the Gears community or to the Gears franchise. I think what me and Stubbs have often quite rightly said, and why it translated so well into the Hivebusters, was we want it back to more its roots. It's much more darker.
Yep.
Much more gritty, brutal, realistic sort of situation.
Will be in Gear 6 because it's part of it. I feel that I'm not spoiling it, but what happened at the end of Hivebusters and the way they got the thing they went to get, I feel that will be part of destroying the enemy in Gear 6. That will be. Maybe
that's the case. I just would like to bring back, like I said, the brutality and the grittiness of the original first one.
Linear. Trying to be open.
No.
Gears 5 was semi-open world.
It was, but Gears 1 wasn't linear. it was semi-linear, because remember, we had different paths you could choose. Remember the very first one?
Yes, no,
It's
you
like,
could,
do you want to go left or right? And if you
Yeah.
could co-op, one person would take the left path, but the other person would take the
That's
right. You'd then see your own characters opposite each other, and you sometimes had to defend each other from the other side. Then there was the krill?
Krill.
That horrendous level where you had to basically keep in the light whilst they were attacking you 24/7 as you're going across. That was brutal. Brilliant, but brutal.
Isn't krill a French anti-dandruff shampoo?
Probably.
Yeah, I thought
You're
so.
more hard
Hang on. Isn't that Krillé? Bring.
You've completed it on insane
I think
mode.
they've got a picture of Stubbs on the front of the bottle.
Brill Creme.
Isn't Gears 1 the one you've completed on hardcore and insane mode?
I have, yes. I have completed Gears 1 on insane mode.
I haven't.
And I absolutely bloody hated it. It took me and a partner and a mate of mine. It took us, I think, 20 plus hours alone. And I would say the 20 plus hours, out of 20 plus hours, I would say it probably took us 8 or 9 hours to do the whole campaign, and then another 11 hours just for the last boss. That's how brutal that last boss was. I mean, it just on insane, it was just, you had to be perfectly timed. And remember, this was the days where internet wasn't as great as it is now. So you had a little bit of lag. And it was like, you made one mistake or there's a little bit of lag, you'd be dead instantaneously. And the amount of times we were swearing at the game. But we did it, and it's not many people can say they've done it. I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't even want to do it now. There's no way I'd want to do it now.
I can tell you for a fact I wouldn't be able to do it. If people don't know, I do play Gears, but I don't. I just play on easy. I play multiplayer. That's what I mainly play when I play Gears. With my, as you say, shotgun, my Gnasher gun.
Only you could bloody just go, I'm going to go with a shotgun 24/7.
Well, it's the way it is. It's the meta in Gears, or sniper.
You have to be very good at sniper.
Got to be very good to use a sniper.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'd like to see any kind of Gears collection, if it actually exists. Who knows? And some new games, some new IPs, something we don't know about.
Well, this is what I would like to see would be some JRPs, more JRPs coming into the genre, and also proper developed RTSs that really are done. Now, the trouble is with RTSs is that they're an absolute slog with a controller.
One thing I will say, sorry about that, is they must be doing well, because I don't know if you listened to the Phil Spencer interview. He did mention, he didn't say it for long though, he didn't linger on it. He said that Age of Empires 2 is doing incredibly well on Game Pass. Numbers are doing very well, and Age of Empires 4 is being put onto the Xbox.
It is, yeah.
So it does show that the more people are playing it. So I think you might find over time they might start to obviously put more, make more games.
I think what you'll find is that there are certain franchises that have span decades, and they all have a huge following. And I think that what you'll find is that some people that game on PC, some people that game on console, because when we say the engagement numbers, I think we forget it's not just the Xbox hardware, it's PC as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's games in PC that you don't really want to pay $50-$60 for, that suddenly appear in Game Pass, PC, Ultimate, whatever it is, and it's something you wanted to try, or was willing to try but weren't willing to spend the money, then of course the engagement numbers. It's something I want to try, but I just haven't had the time, and I'm kind of, I feel like I'm going to need a mouse and keyboard to play it, But
Age of Empires 2 works very well on controller because I have actually tested it out. It works very, very well. The controls do.
If yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I think some games get really well done in terms of porting or development wise. Some games aren't done. I think some games are so complicated in terms of the keys and the bindings. You do need a mouse and keyboard to make it feel a much more fluid experience. And this is why I'm just surprised that Microsoft isn't pushing harder for the mouse and keyboard on the Series X. It works really well on the mouse and keyboard with games that are well optimized. You know, I've played some brilliant RTSs. They Are Billions, for instance, is a PC game being ported over to Xbox. Plays dog crap with the controller, plays really well on the mouse and keyboard. The only thing they haven't done is they haven't given you the ability to change the map bindings, key bindings, sorry. So that's a pain in the backside. But other than that, really works and plays well on the Xbox Series X. And I've seen a couple of RTSs that are exactly the same. It's a case by case basis, but it's one of those things. I'm surprised it's not being looked into more. It's almost like it's a hidden genre that could easily be added to the actual Game Pass package and would draw in a lot of people.
I think they are. I think they're studying the data numbers on how well the Age of Empires 2, because the Civilization's also on Game Pass. I think they are studying it. It's just taking them longer to do. I think they're working out what they can do, and I think they've seen an increase in interest in playing RTSs. So I think you're going to find that there's going to be more and more coming. And Xbox, I know it's obviously Age of Empires is porting, but they might actually start new IP in their own studios, maybe, if they see enough engagement, sales, etc. Because he did point it out. I thought it was very interesting. He mentioned Age of Empires. He didn't linger on it very quickly. You would have missed it if you blinked. It was that quick, but he did mention it. He did.
Well, it's a genre that could bring a lot of people over to the system if it's implemented well. It could be, in
the hardware, or you mean the ecosystem in general?
I think I would say both. Yeah, I think the hardware will, as I said, the hardware will run these quite technically challenging and quite almost hardware breaking games in some of them. I mean, like I said, for the ones that I've got, it's like They Are Billions. There is millions of different enemies on the screen at once, all trying to attack you. Now, the computing power, that alone, I noticed that the PC was also struggling, unless of course you had a high-end PC, and yet it won pretty smoothly on the Series X. The biggest issue I found was the implementation of the control system. It had been lacked, and that's probably not a fault to Microsoft, but the developer itself. I think they put it on there, but didn't continue to support it, which was a shame. I think they put it on there for a quick buck, which it did get. It did do well, but it just probably needs a bit more implementation. So I think RTSs in general kind of do need probably a little bit more time, because remember, you're playing on a console. Yeah, very different to a PC, But I'd like to see that. I think I don't know. I think the showcase is going to be. If you believe, and I don't, what's on Twitter, this showcase will be the end all or be all of Xbox. For me, I would just like to see a good selection of games, a good selection of maybe new IPs, or even if it's just, we're working on this is in the works. Please, by the way, it's coming along the line. Maybe a bit of an update on their roadmap, because I don't think that roadmap's been updated yet, as far as I'm aware of, since last year. Am I correct in that? Someone in chat should be able to tell me if I'm being an idiot again. And as I said, really, I just want to see a bit more gameplay in the showcase this year.
Gameplay from the actual console. Yeah, correct.
Yes, not a
PCs.
yes. Don't get me wrong. You can have your FMV sequences.
Yeah.
You can have your trailers, but I think that should stick to about 10%. The rest should be gameplay from different games and give us a good indication of where we are moving forward. And that's going to be the same for PlayStation. That's going to be the same for Xbox. That's going to be the same for indie showcases. I want to see more gameplay. Let's have a 45-minute discussion about the ethos of how we got to this gameplay.
Just seen 2 excellent comments that I agree with. One from Luke Steele. Just no more shit 12-month window shows. And Indy said, one thing is for sure, they won't be doing this showcase around the next 12 months.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that was
the thing is,
fatal error.
If you look at what the management team was saying, you can see there is a massive disconnect. And I actually think the management team's afraid. Yeah, there's a massive disconnect between the stakeholders, which is the Xbox management team, and what development does, how it works, how it operates, how it delivers, all the pitfalls, all the understanding of how games are. They have no clue because of some of the comments that I've seen or quotes. Well, not even quotes. Like I don't know what you call them, where they capture a sequence of someone saying something. I think it was Sarah Bond. Clips, being clipped, and really, look, this is from my own professional opinion, right? I've been in this situation, and this is like some of the stuff they say and they come out with. I'm sorry, but 20 years ago, you wouldn't have got a job in the games industry, and so I sometimes wonder how they get to the position where they are. You'd be thrown out, you'd be ripped apart because. You remember last week I said to you, not 2 weeks ago, I said to you, if you look at Phil from a photo of him from about 5-6 years ago, and on stage, and look at him now. Look at how much he's aged and how disheveled he looks. And what I can tell you, look, I don't work in your industry removal. I don't work in yours, Stubbs, and I'm not a legal expert like Luke, and I'm not an international playboy like the indie gamer, who just jet sets around on his private jet playing indie games all day long. It's
true.
But the point I'm trying to make is that it is one of those industries that can bring you in, and it can chew you up and then spit you out. And it can age you. It just is that intense and that competitive and that aggressive.
I'll tell you now, Jim Ryan still looks exactly the same.
That's why I got a lot of time for Jim Ryan. I know where he's come from. I know how he got to where he was. I don't know if you guys remember a guy called Kelly Sumner. He used to be the CEO or the senior or chairman of Take-Two. He's very similar to that. He started off in the industry working at Commodore, fixing power packs.
Right.
And I've started in the industry, just let me tell you, right, sealing envelopes, right, and writing out recorded delivery. Remember those orange recorded delivery slips?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Right. That's how I started out in the industry, right, working in the back office of a mail order room. And I can tell you now is that this is why people say, oh, VJ, you're really harsh. You're really got it in for it. And I said, no, I know some really good people in the industry that would not just, do a commendable job, but a far superior job to some of the people that I see in and around it and that are fronting it right now, because they're all frauds, in my frank opinion. And I think that somebody somewhere needs to have that kind of really tough conversation with these people to wake them up, because some of the stuff they come out and say is quite frankly insulting, and it's not even embarrassing, it is insulting, and that's why I can't buy into it, and that's why I don't go into a lot of podcasts, because I just see the imbecilic idiocy and stupidity of people.
I think it's what I would classify. I think it's PR speak. We've seen more PR.
It's the worst kind.
Yes, the worst kind of PR speak versus what was back in the day PR speak wasn't PR speak. It was just basically technical information.
All right, remember, let me put it this way, right? If I said to you, Removable, you work for me, and I want you to go out and say this, this, and this, right? I'll tell you what it would be. It would be tantamount to you going out and just repeating what I said like an idiot, right? Rather than turning around and saying, you know what, I'm worth my weight in gold. I need to ask you some questions before I go out and put myself out there in the public. And when I see Aaron Greenberg, when I see Matt Booty, when I see these 2 or 3 other people, Chris Lee, who's the producer, exec producer, put in charge by Bonnie before he was kicked out, gave the same messages to leaving 343 as Bonnie did, when we both know they were booted out. And then you had the other lady, Miss Bond. None of them, I can tell you, ask the hard questions before they go out and speak. They're just, what's that word? Mouthpieces. And I really have got to wonder who is steering the ship for those people to come out and say some of the stuff that they do. Because I can tell you now, if you're a real executive in the industry and you've been around, you don't come out and say that kind of stuff. Not when you're leading, well, not when you're representing a company of that caliber, if that makes sense. And very rarely do you see Sony do it. Jim Ryan came out and said one thing. He realized he was not the guy, and he hasn't done it again. That's learning from your mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Who's really good at it, right? In terms of Herman Holst.
Tell you one thing I noticed, because it's like the obviously the Hollow Knight Silk Song people were giving it a bit of stick, saying where is it and all that. They said it was coming out, and an indie gamer actually replied to a few comments, and he was right. He said Team Cherry never said it was coming out.
No.
Xbox said it was. Team Cherry never said it was coming. And he's right. He says it was. Yeah, Xbox said it was marketed that way. Team Cherry never officially said anything about it coming out. Yep. And to his credit, Indie Game was right.
And I think that you got to think like this, right? That Team Cherry are very careful what they say and what they don't say and when they say it. For someone from Xbox who put out a trailer for me, which was nowhere near as good as the one that Nintendo put out, which has got over 6 or 7 million views now across all its different over its different YouTube channels, and it was just slightly sort of a disheveled version of that. It's to me really quickly and poorly put together. And for them to come out, all these games will be playable in the next 12 months. Well, I'm sorry, but the publisher and the developer hasn't announced that. And I'm not entirely sure I'm convinced that, you should be the one to represent that game, regardless of the fact you may have paid them millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars to put it into Game Pass. And I think Team Cherry probably looked at it and think, you know what? We're very reserved in terms of, and we have a very specific way in terms of how we speak to, our audience. And it wouldn't surprise me if they delayed it on bloody purpose, just to make a point. So it's my conspiracy theory version of me coming out now.
To be honest, I suspect that they just probably.
If someone represented my company without asking me, I'd be annoyed.
No, do you know what it is? I'd probably just say what's the old phrase? If you've got anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. That's exactly what they did. They kept their mouth shut, and when Microsoft was like, "Oh, we need it done by this," like, not to be done.
Fair, the true fans,
people may say, "Oh, it was 12 months ago. You shouldn't." No. Hold on a minute. And I've said this time and time again. If you're a developer, if you're a publisher, and even if you're an indie developer, and you've probably worked at a publisher and a big company, and that's probably why you become an indie developer, because you're fed up with the monotony of working as a small piece or a functionality of a bigger project, is that if your game is going to release in 12 months, because if you don't, there is something seriously wrong in your production process.
Exactly. It's like,
and that doesn't matter the size of game that you're working on.
It's like with Team Cherry. To be fair, I mean, as Indie Game was just said, Team Cherry are bigger than Xbox. I think he's basing it on, all the majority of the trailers.
Sorry, who said that? Sorry, can you say that again? Who's
Indie?
Well, I would say that they're more. I would say I know he would use the word bigger than Xbox.
I think what you mean is
more cherished. I say they were more cherished, more loved, and more respected.
Exactly.
Right now.
Yeah. Obviously that was a joke, but I think what he means is in general, if you were to look at the trailer, even for that 12-month Silk Song 1 trailer, I compare them to all the other trailers shown off, all these big bangers, exclusive games from Xbox. Hollow Knight Silk Song killed it. It got millions of views. I don't know what's at now.
Because like Zelda, it has a charm and a charisma and a serenity to it that is very, very, and a creativity and a depth of creativity that is very rarely found in most video games.
It's true, because we're obviously with the real fans of Team Cherry and Hollow Knight Silksong, the fans like Indy, yourself, wouldn't have believed what Xbox would have told them, because they know how Team Cherry work. That when they're ready to tell you when it's coming, they will tell you.
They should know how Xbox works.
Well, yeah, it's
because
I think that's exact.
Xbox are doing what Sony did about 10 years ago. That's how far behind they are, selling you future promise they can't deliver on.
What I'd say at this stage is that, as I said, they who's going to get the backlash? Not Team Cherry.
No.
It'll be Xbox. Oh, you said this is going to be out then. Team Cherry, like, we never said a single word. And they don't have to do it. They can literally just sit there and be quiet. They don't have to engage in any shape or form.
Left's recent update and tweet has a ridiculous amount of likes on the tweet because he gave an update on he does the PR for Team Cherry.
Yeah, because as I said, they only need to spout or say something when they are comfortable with it. And if Microsoft wants to go ahead and say something, they're the ones who are putting their neck on the noose. No one else.
I think they regret it now. Anyway.
No, but it's not. The thing is, they should regret it. They've been doing the same stuff for the last 10 years, right? As far as back as I can remember. So it's
they do have a history to kind of,
you know what it is. Sorry, but you know what it is, right? Okay, the thing with Microsoft and Xbox in my short lifespan, right, is that they really like to control an industry, and if they can't make it, they buy it, and that's the thing, right? And the thing is, the problem is sometimes they are befuddled or devoid of being able to see something, and instead of owning it and appreciate it. And for me, and I'll tell you what it goes back to, right? It's going back to not only buying Rare, but trying to buy Nintendo before that, right? Because they just appreciate or value it in terms of what it is, and just being able to absorb it rather than just saying, "Oh no, you know what? That's really great. We're going to buy it." Right? I mean, the Japanese did it when they bought the Square Mile in Japan, in London. Then there was the Americans, and then it was the Arabs, and then it was the Russian. And I'm not saying, I'm not just saying it's a specific culture or a specific place on the planet that's like this. Just human nature. When almost typically when you can pretty much do what you want, you want to own everything, and that's just human nature, right?
Oh yeah,
in terms of a massive multi-million-dollar blue chip company or multi-billion or multi-trillion-dollar company. Sorry, I lose track these days.
But yeah, I think for me, gameplay. I think that's what we've been saying for the last 4 or 5 years. It's like, give us a gameplay. That's it. Just give us some gameplay. Make it fun. It doesn't have to be huge, and keep the chatter down to a bare minimum. We don't need a 45-minute discussion with the devs of how they've decided to use this asset and move it towards another asset. That's great. Some people are like that, and don't get me wrong, there are some people out there who want to look at the intricacies of how these games are developed. That should be a separate show, maybe after parties. I think after event, I would go for. But I think they should just keep it not short and sweet, but sweet and sweet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if they'd have just said, Removable, that Silksong is going to come to Game Pass, that would have been enough for me. That would have been more than enough to say, right?
Yeah, I think that would definitely help a few people. I know India would be like, yes, whew. And Stubbs would be like,
Well, here's the actual tweet. Indy just posted it in the chat. Hey gang, just a quick update about Silksong. We had planned to release in the first half of 2023, but development is still continuing. We're excited by how the game is shaping up, and it's gotten quite big. So we want to take the time to make the game as good as we can. Expect more details from us once we get close to release. 6.4 million views on that tweet.
You know what, Mr. Stubzgamer, I'd love to hear from Indie Gamer on this because I haven't really given it any thought. But when he said it's got much bigger than they'd anticipated, I spoke to Indie and I said, you know what, I love the interactions with all the different NPCs within the game and their stories and so on and so forth. And I said to him, when someone says bigger, I don't just mean in the expansive world because the first one was pretty big, but I just mean in terms of depth and lore and
not just the sake of bigger for being bigger sake.
Yeah. And it'd just be interesting to hear from Indy if he thinks that that's what they mean by bigger, because I think that when I see those two guys speaking, they don't say much. They say what they need to say, but I think they're very, very well aware. And I don't mind if the game's a little bit bigger, removable in terms of map size, 50% bigger, whatever. But I just think that
as long as it doesn't lose its ethos.
Depth instead of bigger size, more depth would be.
That's the thing, isn't it? Sometimes you can keep going add, but you're then potentially watering down the secret sauce.
Yeah, I mean, I can only tell you that once I play it, but yeah, definitely. And I don't know what it used to be. You're probably familiar with this, but in development we used to call it feature creep. It's like this game's doing that, so the marketing button. Can we have this in our game now, please? That'll take about 6 months. But why? All it does is like a click of a button. Yeah, it'll take 6 months.
Oh yeah, we'd like a battle mode, please. Do we have a battle mode, please? You know, yeah, Silksong battle mode, please.
Feature creep is one of the things that did kill a lot of titles at the end of the day, and you need some really, really strong people to make sure that what you're building is
basically it's a no, you're getting what you're getting.
Born out of pre-production. And if you want to know about pre-production, go and watch how the original Metal Gear Solid was made. And that should teach you a lot about pre-production. And again, a lot of those techniques and strategies, were utilized by Nintendo as well, and other devs over there, and so on and so forth. But as I said to you, there's a lot to learn, and probably that's why, like there's games like Zelda and this and that and the other. I'm thinking, my goodness, I can really understand why this game took 6 years. There's so many layers upon layers, but every facet is equal and in quality.
Well designed and complements each other.
Yeah, design is one thing, but then balancing that facets of that design.
That's harder.
That's much harder. Yeah, and but yeah, I understand. Look, not that I understand. I've been fortunate enough to be privy to how that process works, and I recognize it when I see it, and I can see it when it's being cocked up. So, and that's why sometimes when I hear what Xbox says, what the devs say, and I'm saying, look, you're just saying what you're being told to say, but even what you're just being told to say for public facing
doesn't sound great.
Even regardless of the fact you may or may not be good at your job, you're doing yourself a disservice. Do you understand where I'm coming from? The degree, yeah. So hopefully,
Indie Gamers replied, "Yes, hopefully the world is even more richer. I imagine it will be too, as there will be more narrative in this game. I think there will be side quests too, and Hornet is not a silent protagonist."
I heard that she wears a Hollow Knight wristwatch in the game.
I heard she just goes buzz, 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 buzz.
Yeah, I think that word that Indie Gamer used, rich or richer, is actually an excellent word.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Stubbsy? Anything that you wish to see for besides Gears 6?
He wants an invincibility mod for Hollow Knight. That's what he wants for Christmas.
He wants Scalebound.
Die in Hollow Knight, so I can just complete it, and it gives me everything. Opens up all the door, everything. God mode, and I could tell Indy I've completed it in an hour. Or for those who are old school, Genesis mode.
I'm just.
And to be fair though, I mean, I haven't tried that much, but from what I have played of Hollow Knight, which isn't a lot, it is a beautiful world. It's just difficult. It's a beautiful world, but it's a game I've got to stick with more. I struggle with that bit. I do. It is a beautiful game.
I can understand the control system, not the control system, but mastering it and becoming fluent with it it probably is like learning Japanese. But I think it's phenomenal once you can do it, though, and you love it. And but I was interested because I was just thinking what you were just saying there, Mr. Stubbs, and what Lindy was saying is that when I played Hollow Knight and I came across Hornet, I said to India, she should have her own game, and I'm just wondering what character will we, or NPC will, or co-star will we come across in Silksong that we will point to and say that character should have his own game or her own game. And so, anyways, I'll just throw that in there.
Yeah.
Probably.
Welcome to War Stew. Stubbs should finish Forbidden West. Yes, that's true. I should.
Yes, you should. You haven't even got to the second one yet. Maybe, but actually, by the time you get to the second one, the third one will be announced.
I am on the second one.
So you're right. It's the second one. Yes. Have you played the first?
I've completed the first. That's shocking. I know. Shocking. I know.
God mode must have been activated that day.
It wasn't. No. I mean, yeah.
It's the one game I just couldn't connect. I played a lot of hours in
Horizon Zero Dawn was amazing. The story.
I played a lot of it, but I just couldn't go back to finish it. I don't know. I just didn't, as Removable would say, click with me.
Yeah.
I guess one annoying thing is because I play it on the PS4. Once I do complete Horizon Forbidden West, I can't play the DLC until I either buy Horizon Forbidden West on the PC, then get the DLC, or I don't have DLCs on the PC. It's on the PS5. You see, they've not released it for the PS4 because I think it's quite demanding on the hardware, so they couldn't make it for the PS4. It is. Apparently, it's graphically better than the original, the actual Horizon Forbidden West.
Well, you'd think so because it is on a more powerful machine with better specs.
Yeah,
so
that's probably why. Yeah,
you should go around to War Stew's place and just nick his PS5 while he's not looking.
I'll just swap it for a PS4. Take the PS5. Yeah. So,
but that's the only thing you're after. Nothing else. No, like Scalebound or Knights of the Republic remastered.
To be fair, I mean, there's a lot of good showcases. There's probably the Devolver. They always do good showcases. The Future, there's a really good one every year. The Future Game Show usually is really good as well. There's loads of great indie showcases there is around that time. There is. And there'll be loads of games they haven't even announced in them showcases, but there's normally a lot of fun indie game showcases as well. It's not all about the big three or the big two.
Are you referring to the Xbox showcase?
No, I'm just saying the Xbox showcase would be good, but there is other showcases that will be better, like Devolver. There's a game show called the Future Game Show that Indie usually covers. It's a very good show. Usually, it's I can't remember if it was Devolver. I think one year Devolver got Phil Spencer involved. Devolvers are quite funny. They are.
Yeah, Devolver doesn't take itself seriously, and that's what makes it so well loved.
Show that is. I mean, there is loads of shows. If you watch them all, they're quite good. I mean, everyone emphasises on Xbox and the PlayStation show, but there is some very high quality indie shows. I shouldn't say indie shows, other showcases. It's not just about them, but they get the focus. But there is
as on equal footing.
Yeah, they don't get the numbers they do, but they are quality shows.
Mr. Stubbs, I think that all of the showcases we kind of between us and the community in the chat that they that we kind of know the showcases that are coming, and we know the standard that they've set consistently over the last few years. I think that the most interesting showcase to me is definitely the Xbox one, and the reason is because, like every year, we hope that they come of age, that they finally arrive, and that they finally, as Removable said, stop showing us FMV, stop showing us CGI, stop showing us $3 million trailers, stop showing us proof of concept trailers that you've had made, so the team has a studio and the studio has a vision that you can go back to when things are going wrong.
Show us tangible gameplay,
tangible content that you've had in production. Doesn't matter if it's 10 frames per second or 60 frames per second, because your ability to sell a future promise is what's stopping you and deliver. And then even if you show us future promise, as in Fable a couple of years back now, and Avowed, and there was a few others as well.
There was Project Dark.
Yeah. Oh, Project Dark or Perfect Dark. And it's just to show a progress at this stage, because people are willing to give Xbox a chance. Because let's be honest, Game Pass is a fantastic deal. They're actually giving it away right now. But it's terms of, okay, as consumers, we're effectively, paying 100. If we say we are paying $180 a year, let's just say assume games are $60. Your tie ratio every year, and if someone's with you, is at least 3 games a year. So you're getting a decent tie ratio every year. And knowing that PlayStation are selling 100 million consoles, only sold 1.1 billion units of software at one point, which is only a 10-to-1 tie ratio during the whole lifespan. So they're doing pretty good. Is that money is being put to good use, not just to get brilliant games like potentially brilliant game as in Silksong, but potentially Starfield, but that the money is being put towards games and studios, and that your management is capable of delivering on the promise, at least somewhere in the realms within a few percent of what it is that you're greenlighting for production and then overseeing throughout production. Because it's high time, I would say, because I've given Xbox plenty of chances and I've probably bought more Xbox systems than probably everybody here combined, but that's a different story. But the point is, I think that is the most intriguing show, because they kind of really have narrowed down where they are. I don't mean in terms of what they might go and buy, in terms of the internal studios and what they've promised. I'm really intrigued to see the progress. What is it, next month? It's not even that far away, is it?
It's not long.
Few weeks away.
Couple of weeks.
Yeah. 11th of
I don't know if
June.
we're going to cover it after.
Yeah.
I know we're not covering it live, but I don't mind. But
we can cover it after.
Post the event, but it'd be really interesting.
We can, but yeah, the one where I mentioned Phil, it was Indie Games said it was the Devolver showcase, had Phil on, and he was when Carry On was getting released, he did some skit. It's quite funny. We're based on the game Carry On. Another showcase Indie's mentioned, the Guerrilla Collective is another great showcase, and the Tribeca showcase. There's loads of showcases. It's just the focus is on the Xbox a lot of the time, and there is other showcases people should probably take a look at.
Would you agree? Is that's the one where a lot of eyes are going to be on the Xbox One, or would you disagree?
A lot of eyes are on the Xbox C, because PlayStation, because people still saying it's coming, there may not be a showcase. It's only rumored, because as you know with PlayStation, they will probably drop a blog post on the first day, and it'll be the first day after. They don't need to advertise it ahead of schedule, because the Xbox showcase was advertised. I know the information came out again, but the actual date was advertised quite a while ago now. It was what date they were doing. So who knows? Maybe PlayStation would do the old tactic of let Xbox go first, and they might do one in June after.
I think for Sony it's very different right now.
They don't need to anymore, do they?
No, it's very much like, I look at Nintendo. Nintendo, and their main focus, if you look at it, is selling as much Switch hardware now, and the last chapter of the Switch with Tears of the Kingdom, and they've semi-promoted Pikmin 4 with a. I know we've mentioned a lot of games, but that is one game I'm really, really interested in playing. I played the first one, and I really enjoyed it. That was a long, long time ago, and I'm really interested in Pikmin 4. But they pick and choose the timing, a strategic timing in accordance with their own business and their own business model, not due to events or ongoings or what might or might not, what their competitors may or might not do. And I think that's the position that Sony find themselves in, which is good. And now it's just about using their games or armaments as into strategically releasing information and news and so on and so forth, as in when it aids their business plan and when they want to put a shift on how many hardware units they want to sell and so on and so forth. And I think it's less in alignment with what Xbox may or may not do, more in alignment with, okay, these are our main business objectives. So this is what we'll use here, 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 and here, because this is where we know they know all their third-party partners, which are probably more important than what Xbox are doing in terms of when they're releasing games and what marketing strategies and so on and so forth, and what release, like Final Fantasy 16, right? That they don't really want to put out a load of information about tons of their new games coming out just to perhaps impact that. So I think it'll be Final Fantasy 16 and Spider-Man 2, if it is coming this year, as the two key components to pushing out or reaching that hardware installed number and monthly active users. I think that's got to be their main focus. I know there's a lot spoken about a lot of other different games, but I'm in two minds, as in, will they show them, won't they show them? I think it'd be really, that's the only interesting aspect, how little they show and how much they show, because what little they show may just be enough, as you say, Mr. Stubbs.
Yeah, we'll have to see though, we will. But tell you what, it's been a really fun conversation tonight, Az. It's
well, we do try.
I've really enjoyed it. We've covered a lot of different games, a lot of different points.
What comes out first, Mr. Stubbs? What comes out first, Persona 6 or Gear 6? That's the question that everybody has on their lips. Tell him, Removable.
Persona 6.
Oh, I don't actually know, because they haven't even mentioned that Persona 6 is in production, but then again, they're not mentioning Gear 6 is in production, but everyone knows it's in production. But
well, everyone wishes it's in production and hopes it's in production, but they haven't heard anything about it yet.
Not, they're just twiddling their thumbs, helping Redfall fix the game properly.
You'll be fine. You'll see that one symbol just slowly come out of the darkness, and it'll just say 6 next to it, and that'll be the 20 seconds right at the very end, and you'll be a happy bunny.
And will Square Enix show anything of Dragon Quest 12, Mr. Stubbs?
Not at the Xbox showcase, a bit of PlayStation
not at the Xbox,
showcase.
I mean at the Square Enix event.
Oh yeah, they can, potentially, but depends if PlayStation do a showcase. The PlayStation might pay for it to be on their showcase instead.
You mean on their platform?
On their platform. And Persona 6 will. Let's not get onto that. Let's get next time, because that could be a whole topic for another day. We'll talk about Persona 6 next one. Next show we will.
I thought you said today was going to be a 4-hour show.
No, that's not. I want to go and play some coffee talk and games before we go to bed.
Basically, he's saying he's had enough of us.
He's tired. He wants to go for nap time.
No, it's been a fun conversation. Thanks for everyone for popping in. And if you catch it on replay, please give us a like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you catch your podcast services. Thanks, RemovableSanity, for coming on. Can you tell people where they can find you?
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Always great to have a chat with yourself and VJ. For those who wish to follow me, you can find me on Minds, Xbox, YouTube, and Twitter under the name RemovableSanity.
Thanks, RemovableSanity. And to VJ, thanks for coming on again. It's been a pleasure, as always, with you and RemovableSanity on the show.
Thank you for having me on, Mr. Stubbs. And sorry if I went off on a few tangents today.
No,
even better.
It's even better. Some good conversation was had today.
I know that I often text you and Removable after the event and say, you know what, if I was out of line or went over the top on anything, please let me know. Because I'm always striving to improve and not to overimpose my own thoughts on which I end up doing more often than I like to. But just so you, on a good note though, just so you know that I'm off to the dentist in a couple of hours, and hopefully they'll extract my tongue so I stop annoying people.
You wouldn't be VJ if you wasn't.
It's always
looking
good
forward
to
to the next show already. Thank you.
But I will get that scheduled. We'll be doing a post show of the Xbox. Obviously, I can't do it the time it's on, but if you and Removable is free, probably 9 o'clock that night, we could probably do one.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
But there'll be about 2,000 podcasts doing the same thing, but who knows? You don't know. I'm
not worried about that. I'd just like to have a chat with the both of you about it, because I think that's far more interesting than listening to people that perhaps I don't respect.
That's fair.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, thanks for coming on, and thanks everyone. Indie Gamer, Darren, Fimber,
Thanks for
Pixel
that.
Slapper, War Steven jumped in, Masuku,
Luke Steele.
Luke Steele, Back from the Dead. I think, and
Tribler, I think it was Triple R, I think.
Sentinel. I reckon, and BMG was in for a little bit. I know he will listen on replay on Apple Podcasts. He always does.
He just wants to hear us talk about Sonic. That's what it is.
We just didn't talk enough about Korea and Japan today, and Thailand.
Sonic is the best game in the world, BMG. So
True.
yes, I know you're going to listen on replay. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Have a good
See you
one.
later.